Hello class, Mr. Long here. This video lecture is going to go ahead and go over the Say Me Matter chart for our DBQ on how the Treaty of Versailles helped cause World War II. I'm going to go ahead and try to keep this video lecture under 10 minutes. Even though it's very, very short, this video lecture is very important, understanding how to take information from our documents and put them into our Say Me Matter chart, which is actually going to organize our thoughts, our ideas, our arguments, our evidence, which is later going to help us fill out our outline along with writing our essay, our DBQ. So it's really important that we all follow along with the Say Me Matter chart. I'm going to go ahead and explain everything along with giving an example, and then everyone will be responsible for finishing the rest of this chart. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the categories first of the Say Me Matter chart. So of course we have three major categories. We have the say, which is the evidence. We have the mean, which is also the evidence because you're explaining it in your own words. And then of course we have the matter box, which is your argument, which is the most important part of this entire assignment. So let's take a look at that say part first. The say box has to do with what information is being presented. Now, if you look at our packet, our DBQ packet, there is 4 different documents, and each document is different. Um, Not one document is just an excerpt or a paragraph. It's going to be a political cartoon. It's going to be a map. It's going to be a paragraph. So everyone needs to understand that even though it's not a paragraph where you can pull out a word for word quote, you can still pull information from each document. For example, if we're taking a look at document A, which is the map. So the map is really important because you can still pull information from there, even though it's not a quote or it's not a paragraph. So what facts are being presented? Information straight from the document. So it's either going to be a quote or it's going to be information. The next category is the mean box. And basically all I'm asking you is, what does this information mean in your own words? So you have to break it down. And if you listen to video lectures and you do this correctly and you highlight and you annotate, it's going to be very easy for you to put stuff into your own words. But most importantly is our matter box. And this is the most difficult box to fill out because this is where you actually have to put in your own thoughts and ideas using the evidence. So we always have to think of this question: what is the significance or importance of the quote or the text that you are using? And how does this help cause World War II? That is the main question that we always have to go back to: is how is the evidence, how is the information, how is your argument always going back to how it leads to World War II? So let's go ahead and take a look at document A first. And document A, of course, there's 2 parts to it. The first part is the map of Germany and how Germany is stripped of certain land, and a very important land that is taken away from them. And then the second part, of course, is the excerpt that is taken from Mein Kampf, which is the book that Hitler writes when he's in jail in the early 1920s. So if you guys did this correctly, you should have written all over your map. You should have highlighted it. You should have written a ton of information in the margins. So you're only required to pull one piece of information from the map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus, if you guys can look at the cursor, the arrow, I'm going to focus on this area right here, specifically Danzig. Danzig is really important because, of course, if you listen to the video lecture, it's a major port city. And a port city is where ships, of course, will pull in on a daily basis, load goods and unload goods, and they take off. There's a lot of business, there's a lot of trade that occurs in Danzig, which is this port city. But Danzig is going to be taken from Germany, which means there's no longer going to be any trade, there's no longer going to be any money made, there's no longer going to be any business being done in Danzig by Germany because it is taken away from them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at our Say Me Matter chart. And we need to pull a piece of information from the map. Now, of course, it's a map. It's not a paragraph, which means I can't pull a quote from the map. I actually have to pull information from the map. So if I'm focusing on Danzig, I'm just going to write something like Danzig is a major port city which has, of course, access to water. This land is taken away from Germany because of the Treaty of Versailles. That's it. That's all you need to write. Okay? It's just information. It's just what I'm looking at when I take a look at this map right here and I'm focusing on Danzig. So the say part is just taking this information. What is Danzig? Danzig's a port city. Why is Danzig important? Because it does a lot of business there. There's lots of trading there. There's lots of money that is made there. So now I need to focus on the mean part. So what does this information mean in your own words? Well, we know that it is a port city. Which equals trade, which equals money. That Germany loses because they no longer control it. That's it. That's all you have to do. All you're doing is explaining why Danzig is so important and the importance of Germany being stripped or Danzig being taken away from Germany. So now here is the most important part, the matter, the argument. How are you going to tie this information to how World War II begins or the cause of World War II? Okay, so this box is probably where the most information occurs. So Germany may want that land back. If they do take the land back, they are breaking the Treaty of Versailles, which could lead to another war. Bottom line, we know that land equals power. Okay? Germany is feeling very resentful, very angry, which leads to some kind of conflict. In parentheses, war, of course. They are angry that the land was taken from them and they want it back. Bottom line, everyone, and we need to understand this. As long as you can tie the information to how it starts or leads to World War II, you have done your job. So, once again, you are arguing how this information is tied to the beginning of World War II. So, once again, I will read over it. Germany may want that land back. If they do take the land back, they are breaking the Treaty of Versailles, of course, which could lead to another war because we know that land equals power. Germany is very resentful. They are very angry, which leads to some kind of conflict, of course, which is going to be war. And they are angry the land was taken from them and they're eventually going to want it back. They want some sort of revenge. Okay? Perfect example, everyone, of how I took information from the first part of document A. I filled it out for the say box, for the mean box, which I explained it, and of course the matter box. The most important part is how I argued how that information is tied to the outbreak of World War II. Once again, this video lecture is very short. Please use this example. Please use these directions to fill out the rest of your say, mean, matter chart.